Hey comic book fans, you're with me, Mike Spider Slayer, and welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And guys, we're getting ready to do another countdown video. That's right guys, the video where I count down my comics from worst to the best. That's right everyone. And I apologize for last week not having an episode. I was just super duper busy and just did not have time to fit it in there. So with that being said, let's get started with this week's countdown and see which comics I like the best and which ones I could not stand. So first, before we actually get into it, if I did have a countdown last week, this would be number 1 on my list, and that is Trillium, issue number 1. This book by Jeff Lemire was phenomenal. It was a great read, very original story, having two people in two separate worlds meeting each other for the first time. It was amazing. One from the past, one from the present. A female and a male, of course. And really interesting stuff here. One has to do with a scientist that's from the year 3797. And then the other one you had to do with the past, which was the war veteran who had to, who was from 1921, which is known as the soldier. And the soldier's trying to find this temple that has all these lost treasures and everything like this, and he trips out, reminds him of the war or whatnot. And then on the other side of the spectrum here, we have a scientist who is looking for this flower that can save the human race because there's only 4,000 people left in existence. So, and their paths actually cross each other, meeting at the same place in this temple, which was brilliantly done. The only thing I might say is that the artwork is not my favorite, and it's kind of like a scribblish type of art and color, but in a way, it fits the style of the book. There's no Superman here. There's no Batman here. So this really kind of fits the style of book because you've never seen it before. I lived with it. The story was great. And I will be picking up number 2. Alright, so into the actual countdown. Here we go. Is number 12. Superior Spider-Man Team Up, issue number 2. Part 1 of Sibling Rivalry. I thought this whole thing sucked. If you guys want to see a in-depth review, it's kind of a rant towards the end of it. Go on to Dark Avenger Inc. I hated this whole story. Whenever you see the Jackal and whenever you see Kane, all you think of is clones. And you think the Jackal would come up with something freaking different by now. Let's come up with clones of spiders. This time we're going to throw a little edge on it, and we're going to make it mutant spiders. Ridiculous. The only thing that had me interested by the end of this issue was you saw the clone of Gwen Stacy. That was it. The artwork was decent, but otherwise it was complete garbage. Christopher Yost does know how to write Superior Spider-Man. I said that when he took over Avenging Spider-Man and when Superior made his first appearance on that book. I always thought that Christopher Yost does a great job with the dialogue of Superior. But this story is complete filler, complete generic, and you can expect nothing less from freaking the Jackal. So I give it a 2 out of 5. Number 11. Well, when you get shit on top of more shit, you just get a bigger pile of shit, and that's what you got here. And that was Scarlet Spider, Sibling Rivalry, Part 2, and this was issue number 20. The only thing that happened in this issue was Kane and Superior get captured, and the whole issue, you got Jackal ranting and raving about, oh, I'm going to make you a great freaking Scarlet, I'm going to make the best Spider-Man ever. I'm going to do this shit we've seen over and over again. The Jackal looks like a gremlin, an oversized gremlin, and I just didn't like it. I thought this story, again, was super generic. At the end, you get the Gwen Stacy clone who gets killed, and she sacrifices herself because she doesn't want to live. You find out that Kane is a monster, which we've known forever and ever, and he's always down on himself. Get over it, Kane. You got to learn to live with yourself. Who cares what Superior says? He's upset because he can't get along with Superior, which he doesn't know is Dr. Octopus. It's Peter Parker, obviously. And in the end, he walks away with his head down like a little girl, going, act like a hero, Superior. So he has no idea what's going on. You get an epilogue at the end, and you find out that Kane is getting his scars back, and at the end, you get Jackal on the epilogue too, that his only remains of DNA is freaking Kane, which is a clone to begin with, and he wants to make a clone out of a clone, so you're going to get even more of a reject. That's so stupid. It's so dumb. He talks about making the perfect things, but then he's a lazy ass, and he doesn't want to go out and try to kill the guys. We're just going to make another reject clone. It's stupid. It is so freaking dumb. The best thing about this issue, why it got number 11 over number 12, is because of this. You got Ben Reilly possibly making an appearance or coming back or whatever may happen. So don't read this. Just totally skip. One of my great friends, Kamaguno, she loved this, and I am not in any way. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I respect her opinion. And this is obviously my opinion. I just did not like this actual two-part story that they had to offer here. And if you guys want to see her opinion on it, go watch her countdown video on Dark Avenger Inc. or her individual reviews and get her opinion. You know, see what she thought of this actual story. But this was mine, and I hated it. So enough about that. I wasted too much time on that. Next book, number 10. Infinity, part 1 of 6. I gave this an average grade, and that is being, I don't know, generous, I think, because I understand where fans of the Marvel Universe may like this. Because if you're an Avengers fan, you're going to like this book. If you're a Thanos fan, you're going to like this book. As a story, I thought it was a lot. They try to break it up for you by putting the books in the chapters in a way by making these blank pages. You pay $4.99 for this book. You get a decent amount of dialogue. It's a lot of dialogue. And I guess this is Marvel's answer to coming out with 10 or 12 issues. We're just going to make 2 issues in one. So when you look at it, it's kind of the same thing, but you're getting a lot more in one shot. If you've read the Avengers titles, you're going to know a little bit more of what's going on here because of all the Avengers that were featured in that Avengers title. But if you didn't, you might find yourself a little bit lost and not know who certain characters are in this book. I did find it interesting by the end of it all because, to make it short, the builders are going after Earth and they're going to destroy it. So the Avengers are going after the builders. Now, while there's nobody watching Earth, I guess Thanos is going to go after it and destroy it. I guess, short and simple. You got his little lackey going after Black Bolt, trying to go in his mind, trying to find out what's going on with the Infinity Gems and whatnot. So there's a lot of story here, and it's still yet to be determined on what the final outcome is going to be for Infinity. But I didn't find it super exciting like I did with the Trinity War. And as a casual reader, if you are, you might be turned off by this. We're in Infinity. I'm sorry, in Trinity War. The first time you jump on it, Jeff Johns does a great job at telling a story and bringing everything together to kind of get you on board. And I didn't feel that here with Infinity. They kind of just launch you into a story and kind of expect everything you know about all these characters and everything that's going on. So that's how I feel about this event, if that makes any sense to you. Alright, so that was number 10. So number 9 is Batgirl, issue number 23. This was a solid issue. I give it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. You get Batgirl who goes shopping for the first time with her friend or her roommate, and it was interesting to see her in that way. And then by the end of the issue, you find herself trying to save her boyfriend because he's got a call from this gang that he used to be affiliated with, and in the last issue, him and Batgirl wind up beating up his little cronies and whatnot, and things remind her of her brother. So it's just a really tough issue for Batgirl and Commissioner Gordon, and it was an entertaining read. And by the end of it all, you're kind of just left with a great cliffhanger about what's going to happen to Rick at the end of this issue, and what's really going to happen to Commissioner Gordon, because the guy's about to go loony. So interesting stuff. This is part 1 of this story. There's 3 parts, and go out and check this one out. I give this one a 3.5 out of 5. Number 8, Wolverine in the X-Men, issue number 34. This is part 4 of the Hellfire Saga, 4 of 5. Cade Gilgore is basically lost his marbles by the end of this issue, and he has his own men basically putting the gun to his head because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about anymore. I mean, that is what happens at the end of this actual issue here. There's a big, huge battle. Great artwork in here. You got Brew just going after Cade Gilgore as well, but there's some nice artwork here, as you can see. Couple other pages that I can show you. I think this is where this book shined for once, is the artwork. This is a great page here as well. This was pretty funny. It's like Iceman's creation here. Kind of looks like Voltron because it pulls out like a sword and everything. And I saw this, I'm like, dude, does that look like Voltron but in ice form? Interesting stuff here. It's gonna be really intriguing to see how this all pans out. How Cade Gilgore winds up surviving all this, because he's got all his people against him and whatnot. I thought this was a fun read. It's been a good series. I'm also giving this a 3.5 out of 5. Okay, so number 7, Batman issue number 23. For me, this was kind of just an average issue. I actually gave it maybe a lower rating than I should have, but I gave it a 3 out of 5. There's a lot of great dialogue in this story, but not lots of action. And following up after the annual, it's been a while since we've actually seen the story of this. But however, it was a great story seeing how Batman, or Bruce Wayne, actually goes into the mansion, and how, you know, the Red Hood gang was inspired, and how Bruce Wayne survives the beating of the Red Hood gang and the shooting, and you get to see the relationship between Alfred. It was nice to see that. And then you get to see the first inklings of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. One of the panels that was pointed out to me when I did my review on Dark Avenger Inc. on this was you kind of get a see of a shadowing of Batman here, and Greg Capullo does a great job on the artwork, and you get to see that right here on this panel here. I thought that was really inventive there, as Bruce is walking away from getting patched up, and all he has is basically a sheet, but it just kind of looks like a Batman, you know, there. The end was great. You get to see him see, I guess, the Batcave for the first time, and says to his father that he will be a Bat. And I guess in the next issue, you're going to find out that he puts on the suit maybe for the first time. So after a second opinion, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 after thinking about it more clearly. However, it still wasn't the best issue I've ever read from Batman. You get to see a little hinting of the Riddler in here and whatnot, but not a lot of action. So I guess that's why I'm giving it a little bit. I'm being tough on this one. I always expect the best from Batman, and I didn't think this was the best. So this was number 7 this week. So number 6, Savage Dragon, issue number 190. This issue was really interesting. You get to see Malcolm, which is Savage Dragon's son, meet his girlfriend's parents for the first time, which was nice. He tried to be a more responsible, I guess, adult, if you want to say so myself. But the one thing that there's two things in here that launched this particular issue, which was seeing this character right here, which was Mako, which was really nice to see him back and get his revenge on Savage Dragon. He basically pummels him throughout the end of the issue, and you get to see a return here of Dart, which you haven't really seen her in a long time. Now, it's not the original one, but it's a new version of her. And we get to see, again, Savage Dragon and Mako really go out into this all-out brawl. The paneling here is nice. The sound effects that's in the issue is always great. Here's some more battle scenes that you can see here. And we get to see some gruesome stuff with Mako tearing off limbs from Savage Dragon. And just interesting stuff here. And then you're left with a big cliffhanger that's just going to lead into future events of this title. And I give Erik Larsen all the credit in the world for doing this title for the past 20 years of drawing and writing himself. It is very hard to do that and to keep coming out with it month after month. I give the man, again, all props, and I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. So top 5, number 5 is Avengers Arena, issue number 13. I am sad to say that this series is ending, and I found this out from a couple of sources, and I'm very disappointed. But in the same way, I understand that because you can only go on with this for so long. The whole point of this is these characters are in this murder world. People are dying here, and eventually they're going to learn to escape, and where do you take this from there? So I feel that it does have to end. And another thing that's against it is that people were not on board with this from the very beginning. They felt that it was a cheap ripoff of the Hunger Games, which I feel that it's not. And another thing is that it's not new reader friendly. You kind of basically have to read the first issue to kind of get that full effect of this series up until this point. So it's hard for people to jump on board. So those are the reasons why I feel that that's why this series is getting canceled. Now, for the actual issue, I thought this was really good because for once we don't see any of the main characters in here. You kind of go back to an Avengers Academy type of style, and you see that Ant-Man and Tigra are actually in this issue, and they realize that their people, their academy, is missing members, and not just members from their academy, but from other academies as well, and they're all superpowered teens. And Hank Pym is really suspicious of what's going on in the actual issue, and he's doing research, talking to Captain Britain about everything that's going on, and we find out that people are not who they really are. Justin, who supposedly went back home, is a robot and is filling in for the real Justin, so no one is aware of what's going on. They still get these phone calls, they still do these fake texts, and then you get Metal, who died in like the first issue, or Metal, I'm sorry. He died in the first issue. He makes an appearance, but it's not really him either. It's a robot. But they do a great job at convincing Hank Pym that, hey, I guess these guys aren't really in danger. But I guess you get the location of where Murder World really is, and it looks like it's in Texas, as you can see that bullet right there. So, really interesting stuff. Arcade pulled out this last hope to, stall time with Murder World. He wasn't supposed to do this so soon, but people are starting to get suspicious of what's going on. And then in 2 weeks, you get Boss Level Part 1, which is a wonderful cover here. So, I truly enjoyed this issue. This series has been great. I'm going to miss it when the story is over, but I guess you can only do it too long. So, I'm giving that one a 4 out of 5. Next, we have number 4 on the list, which is Green Lantern issue number 23. certain parts of this issue I felt were not necessary. I thought that everything that Jon Stewart was fighting for here against these guys was just very forgettable and not necessary. You got some new recruits fighting with him, and then you got Fatality, who basically suffers almost a very bad injury where she gets this wasp that kind of goes in her ear and goes through her brain, and she kind of falls to the ground. But she gets recovered by Jon Stewart. Now, the main part of this story is about all the recruits and all the Lanterns on Oa just falling apart. They don't agree with Hal's leadership. They don't agree with Salek. They don't agree with Kilowog and what's happening. The light is dimming out on them. Everyone is curious on what's going on. And Salek and Kilowog are doing investigations on the battery and finding out what's going on with it. And in the end, they find out that there's really nothing wrong that they feel with the battery. But at the end, you get Ion that makes his appearance, and he comes out, and he is just dying. He is physically dying. And by the end of the issue, you see all the entities where their lights are dimming out, and they can't survive this way. So at the end of this issue, you find it that the entities are basically saying that our life force is fading, and they're going to a place to die. And the Lanterns are just like, what? And you're like, oh my god, that's crazy, because these entities are everything to these Lanterns. So I found this book really interesting by the end of it. I could care less what happens with the other little characters involved. The main thing is that this is leading into the new events that's going on with Green Lantern Corps, or Green Lantern in general. So really interesting to find out what's going on. I really enjoyed this particular issue. So I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. Top 3. Number 3, which I don't have, and it's Saga. I forgot to get the iPod or the tablet. Number 3 was Saga. This book was really great. We haven't seen Saga in a long time, and this issue had to deal with Marco and Alana. They actually are kind of going through the ramifications of Marco's father's death. We get to see them land on the planet finally for the first time. You get to see an issue that brings everything together. So in case you haven't read this series or you forgot what happened in the series, they did a great job of bringing all of our characters together and get you back into the swing of things. And that's what this issue did. So I feel that in the next issue, everything's going to continue from where we last left off. So I thought that's where the issue shines, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. A wonderful issue to read. Really not that much wrong with it. So that was number 3 on the list. So, number 2. The Walking Dead issue number 113. This issue was awesome. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 if you saw the in-depth review on this. But once again, we find that Rick screws up everything and tried to kill Negan. And let's just say he got his ass handed to him in this issue, because he's at the mercy of Negan, just like he was when Glenn got his head bashed in. Carl shoots Lucille, as you can see here, and Negan is super pissed off. He wants Carl dead. He wants everybody dead. He's just freaking out. And then in the meantime, you get Andrea, who gets into a run-in with the Savior, and they do battle. And let's just say towards the end of this issue that you're not going to like what's happening here. Someone falls from the tower, and Rick is not too happy about it. This was awesome. This kept you at the edge of your seat the whole time. Kirkman continues to deliver with The Walking Dead. I feel that not many people are talking about The Walking Dead right now because the TV show's not on. It's kind of been on the low on the TV on the comic book series. Hold on one second. It's my refrigerator making this noise. And it's still going to make it. So I apologize about that if the noise is annoying. But, again, you're going to see that once this new series picks up with the All Out War and the TV show comes back on, people are going to be talking about The Walking Dead once again. And this issue was awesome. Time doesn't go very fast in this series. This was basically one scene in this whole entire issue. And Kirkman is a master at doing this to keep you interested in the whole issue. Great stuff. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Check this one out if you guys haven't. Great. And now for the #1 book of the week, and that is Justice League of America issue number 7, Trinity War Part 4 of 6. We're over the halfway point now with Trinity, and I felt that this particular issue did a great job at explaining things of what was going on. You got a little bit of an introduction to Lex Luthor in this issue and how Pandora wanted him to hold the box. You get to see his personality in here, which was awesome. You get to see a little, you get to see Superman's team go after Dr. Psycho, trying to get information out of him. My only thing about this book was a little bit of the artwork, but it was great to see Martian Manhunter interrogate Dr. Psycho. You get to see Superman, who's super sick. It feels like he's gonna die. It's rough here. You get to see a little bit from that tie-in from Phantom Stranger issue number 11, which they're doing such a great job at telling this story. And by the end of the issue, we see that Pandora is just about to give that box to Lex Luthor. And he was kind of so nonchalant about it, and that's typical Lex Luthor. And when he sees Wonder Woman enter the room and she wants it, right away Lex Luthor's like, no, I want the box, I want it right now. And Wonder Woman gets a hold of the box, and right here, she is possessing it, and she's like, I have the box. And by the end of the issue, she goes, and the box has me. So after all this time, Pandora looking for somebody, the purest of heart or the purest of evil, she finds Wonder Woman out of all people. And she looks like she's ripped here, and she's going to kick some serious ass. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen from this point on, but this was a great issue. This series has been consistent. Jeff Lemire has been phenomenal writing this with Jeff Johns. Artwork overall has been good. A little bit nitpicky here on, details. But otherwise, besides that, this book has been great. Even the tie-ins have been solid. The only one that was a forgettable tie-in was the Constantine one. But the Phantom Stranger was really good. And then the other tie-in, too, was pretty good, which I forgot off the top of my head. But great story. I truly enjoy this book. I can't wait for Justice League Dark to come out. I can't wait for Forever Evil. I can't wait for Villains Month. This all leads into so much. And I just think that DC's just really doing a great job with their stories. Now, on the whole covers situation, that's a different story on how they handle that stuff. But their stories have been solid, and this event is the way an event should be presented to its readers, unlike how Infinity was, unlike how Age of Ultron was, and kind of how Avengers vs. X-Men was as well. We see multiple events from Marvel. They're all mediocre. This is solid, and by the time this is done with, I think it's going to have huge ramifications on the DC Universe. And that's it, man. And that's my thought of this issue, and that's why this one gets the #1 nod. So, guys, there you have it. Trillium was a great issue. If I had a countdown, that would be #1 last week. Now, with all these countdowns that I'm doing, by the end of the year, you're going to get the #1 comic book of the year. So that's why I do these countdowns. So from the beginning of the year, all the #1s are going to be thrown into an enormous countdown. I'm going to re-review them all in a huge countdown, going down to the #1 comic, in my opinion, of the year. So that's why I've been doing these countdowns. So there's your twist by the end of the year. So guys, As always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. And I'll see you guys real soon. Take care, guys. Bye.